What is up, everybody? This is Recap and Rewind. I'm JLAG.
And I'm NB.
And we are recapping and reviewing You, episode 8. And it's called
You Got Me, Babe.
Got You, Babe.
Got Me.
Got You,
Babe. Don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines, our LVPs, our MVPs. So be sure to stick around for that. And don't forget, guys, always send us your best moments, your roundups on Twitter.
Absolutely.
And we'll feature them into the podcast. So
for sure.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's just joining us, thank you so much for coming through. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. For all of our returning listeners, thanks so much for coming back. Let's get into the episode, y'all.
Okay, babe.
Okay, babe. So this takes place 3 months after the last episode, which is quite a while.
Which I totally forgot that it like skips time that much.
Yeah.
So since they've broken up, it's been 3 months.
Yes. And this is kind of showing his new relationship. As we saw, like basically Karen Minty, the neighbor, like literally jumped his bones like as soon as he like broke up
right away.
Yeah, and I guess since then she's kind of inserted herself into his life. They're now dating. He's moved on, as he claims every 5 seconds. He's basically trying to tell him, he's trying to convince himself that he's moved on, but he's obviously not. So we see that he's still in therapy. So there's a few things that you see. He's still with Karen Minty. Karen Minty cool.
Yeah.
She's cool. She's cool. He's like, we have so much in common. Maybe not like everything, but like the things that are important. She's clean. She keeps her on she keeps him on her toe, like on his toes. And yeah, he's still in therapy. He's talking to Dr. Nikki. He's like, things are good, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm happy. She's happy. But but yes, definitely it sounds like he's convincing himself that he's
I think it's one of the episodes where like his narration is so clutch because I think if you didn't have this inner dialogue, like there would be sort of no really context and like it wouldn't feel right. So hearing even Penn Badgley's voice, like it's been he has such a good voice as like a narrator, as a voiceover. So hearing him throughout this episode and he's fighting with himself, it just takes you right into it and you're like, he's like totally so on.
And I think this was one of my favorite episodes because of the fact that they really delve into the idea of a breakup and what people go through during a breakup. like they obviously do it to a crazier degree. He does it on a crazier degree, but everybody's done the Facebook text, check the stalk, checking on social media, see what they're up to, who they're dating, what their, relationship status is, and he definitely does that to her. He checks in on her, even though he's saying like, in
it's
his
not
voiceover,
as much. Like he's like, it's only like 3 times a day now.
Yeah.
Like what was it before? Like 40? Like
72 hours a day. And you find out that Beck has, after everything that happened after they broke up, she wrote a essay.
She wrote a book,
about
a blog post.
A blog post, and then like she got a book deal out of it. So now she's working on a book. So he's like excited for her, whatever.
And it was sort of like a jump off of like, what do you wear at your best friend's funeral? Yeah. So like she kind of just like sold out and like used Peach's whole experience and death.
Is it selling out or is it just finding an opportunity?
I mean, it's selling out, but like good for her.
It's definitely selling out. She's reading to her experiences, right? She's not becoming.
But you don't have to frame it like, what do you wear at your best friend's funeral? Like, my life through my friend's eyes could have been something more like,
right? I see
meaningful. But whatever.
Anyway,
cool.
she getting it. Yeah. And we really quickly, and I don't know where this is going to lead, but we see Lynn and Beck kind of drifting apart.
Which I didn't really understand, like the point of this scene, because I feel like they weren't really close anyways. Like they were all close as like a squad, as a friend group, but they weren't like girls. Like, yo, we talk about everything. Like we're so close. Like I got you. I didn't really feel that vibe from them from the beginning. Yeah. So like for Lynn to feel some type of way now, I'm like, but were you guys like really that close?
It's true, and she like gets so cheesed.
She
at
got
her.
really cheesed.
She's like,
yo,
why are you even?
I was so shocked.
It's interesting. I mean, it was a very shocking, not shocking, but it was a very random thing. It was very random. Episode 8, like why do we care about this?
That's what I mean. And like her face just looked so like upset. I was like, bro, why are you so like?
And also on top of that, like Blythe, we see Blythe kind of inserting herself into Beck's life right now too, because like now she's like this like fancy writer. Yeah. So it's not that Blythe seems to be taking advantage of her, but she's obviously like the new
Beck is
Peach.
just connecting with her more. Yeah, at this point
she's like
in her
the
life.
new like person that she's going to be giving her energy to, and Lynn obviously is like from the old world where she was like the peaches and like the shallowness, and Blythe is so much smarter and whatever. So anyway, Blythe definitely like takes it a few steps forward, and she's obviously still dating Ethan, who Joe still works with, right? So there's that connection. So Blythe is really trying to be that person for her to help her focus on her writing. So she's like deleting all your Facebook. So she like goes in on her phone, deletes her Facebook post, like Facebook, deletes her Instagram, kind of gets her off of everything, unplugs her internet. Like she's like trying to get her to really like
focus on her writing.
And one of the things she does say, she's like, I'm gonna talk to Ethan and see if he can talk to Joe and ask for like a fancy old school typewriter. So then finally we hear Beck kind of talk about Joe.
She asked about Joe, yeah.
She asked about Joe, which also happens on the other side, right? Like whenever you break up with anybody, whoever the breaker upper is, you kind of just see that they're checking in on each other.
Yeah.
So then we see Joe in therapy, and Nick is like, just enjoy your life, because Joe's kind of saying like, I'm with this new person, this new gay guy, and like things are going well. Good. Like I'm not thinking about my old mandem, like Ronaldo or whatever.
Yeah.
And Nick is like, just enjoy the ride, like just enjoy it. What did you think of these random Nikki scenes?
I mean, I kind of like them. I like that, like, Dr. Nikki was very, like, forward and was like, look, you got a new life. Like, it seems like you're enjoying it. Like, go live that life. Like, don't, like, stop looking back. So he's giving really good advice.
He's giving sound advice for sure. Absolutely. So anyway, so then he leaves the appointment, and then he like pulls up his phone, and then it shows that like that Beck's deleted all of her apps. So he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's like, no. He's like freaking out.
Yeah, he freaks out. So it seems like he's only happy if he knows that she's okay. Yeah. As long as he has
like he can see
a window into her life, then he's good. Yeah. But otherwise, he like freaks out.
Which is kind of weird, because I feel like it'd be the opposite, where like if they're erased, you don't have to look anymore. Yeah. But he's so obsessive where like he needs to look, right?
Exactly. And he's not out of love with her for sure. So Beck is now writing. So it shows Beck and she's trying to write, but she can't focus, whatever. And then it shows her even creeping him and creeping Karen Minty.
She creeps the girl.
It's both sides of things, right? And I really like the dynamic in this episode, because it shows how similar they are in one regard, not all regards, but like in the sense that they really cared about each other. Clearly they had feelings for each other, and she cares about him,
and they're a little obsessive. And I honestly have to say, I did love that they included this part in the book as well. Because when we got to the point where like, you know, Joe was moving on with Karen, I was like, sick, amazing. Like we get to see him with someone else, and we get to see him sort of pick up the pieces of his life, and he does move on. Like he does move on pretty successfully for like the time being,
right?
So that was a cool thing for his character to experience, and I'm glad they didn't just show him like being all like Debbie Downer.
Right.
He was able to still do something with his life.
Yeah.
And then it flipped the tables where like she was jealous of Joe. So like it was a really cool dynamic to see for sure.
And you see it a lot more just in the show, and how she like literally goes in and like makes fun of her pictures and all that kind of stuff. So then it cuts to Ethan, this is the bookstore, and you find out that Ethan asked Blythe to move in with him.
Yeah.
So she's like very excited about that. So it's been like 3 months. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Joe's like, okay, cool, that's kind of weird, but like fine if you guys like each other. And he's like, when you're in love, you're in love. Yeah. Like they're such a cute couple.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the evening, and Paco, Karen, and Joe are kind of chilling. They're having dinner. They're waiting for Paco's mom, Claudia, to come back. And Joe seems like really distracted. Like he's clearly like kind of thinking about Beck and like what her life is going, like what's going on with her life right now. And anyway, and Karen, you can tell like a side eye is like booking it. And anyway, Claudia at that point comes in, and she's like tweaking really hard. And she like they get upset. Like she gets upset because Karen basically calls her out and is like, what's going on? Like what do you have? Put something in your stomach. She gets annoyed, so then she like leaves. She goes like next door, and she like takes Paco with her. And he like looks at Karen again, and again he keeps reiterating like, Karen's worth it. She takes care of me. I think at one point in time she says, hey babe, like what do you want to do? And then it's that whole babe conversation, which was a really good part of the book too, where he says like, we made fun of these people who call people
each other babe.
It's so unimaginative and all that kind of stuff. But in this moment, Joe says, like, it's worth it, babe. She takes care of me. Like, she loves me. She never gets me into, like, really shitty situations like you did.
Yeah.
So he's trying his best
talking to her, essentially.
Yeah,
right?
and she's trying his best to get over it. But clearly, after 3 months, he's still not over it. There's something there that's really, like, coming for him. That's, like, still inside of him that cares about Beck. And then Karen says, like, let's just go for Froyo. Let's just kind of, like, shake this all off, this shitty night off. And they bump into Beck.
Right.
Like,
they're in their neighborhood, and she's in their neighborhood.
Right.
So, like, she doesn't not belong there.
She creeping though.
She's creeping.
So she creeping, which I thought was really interesting. I don't remember if this is in the book specifically. I know that they do probably, like, bump into each other at some point, but how do you feel about that flip? Because we always used to see, like, Joe being that creeper. Oh, like, what are you doing
here? For sure. You know I love this whole dynamic, how she's so thirsty. It's hilarious. And I definitely do think that the whole Karen Minty story, she was real in the book, for sure. I do think that they compressed her whole storyline for the show.
Yes.
Which I'm fine with, whatever. So certain scenes I think are taken out or they're readjusted to fit the show. But I love how, like, freaking thirsty Beck is. Like, she's so thirsty.
And it's great. I love the really quick, like, dynamic between Karen and her.
They run into each other, yeah.
Like, Karen doesn't even want to shake her hand. And Beck is just trying to be, like, overly friendly. And, you know, like, Karen's just like, babe, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Let's just go.
So then, so she's like, babe, let's go, whatever. And then they start walking a bit. Yeah. And then Joe gets a text, like, 10 seconds later. And she's like, and Beck's like, LOL, babe. Like, she's making fun of him for, like, saying, like, babe.
Yeah. And he doesn't answer.
And he doesn't. This part was so weird because, like, he literally glances at his phone. He, like, puts it away. She's like, LOL, read receipts. Like,
she's like,
did
thanks.
you see him put his phone away?
Like, got it, bye.
Yeah, like he can reply back in 5 minutes. Not a big deal.
It's kind of hilarious. It's hilarious seeing her in this role because she got so thirsty for Joe. Like,
first of all, if Joe was any sort of stalker, he would not have his read receipts on. That's already, like, sorry, I don't believe that.
Can you get rid of that?
Yeah.
On the phone? Oh, okay.
On iMessage.
You're like, I know. So then so he's back in therapy, and this is not just him. It's him and Beck. And it's this really, really cool shot of them both fighting for the same conversation, saying, I'm over it. And she's like, I'm over it. And Dr. Nikki basically says, like, who are you trying to convince? Like, me or, like, you?
Yourself, yeah.
And so then it shows Beck basically, there's a montage of Beck basically texting, and they keep texting each other. Dr. Nikki's asking the conversation to both of them, like, are you guys still texting? Like, what's going on? And both of them say the same thing, like, yeah, we're texting here and there. It's just like, but it's not just texting. It's like legit flirting.
Yeah.
You can see that she's kind of stepping her
game
up. She's
definitely flirting way more than he is.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She's like putting, like, the book on her lap, like, while she's, like, in a towel, like, you know, she's, like, in a towel, and she's taking a picture of it. She's, like, sending pictures of her, you know, bio picture.
By the way, her bio picture looks like a selfie. Like, I don't know who took your freaking professional bio photo, but, like, it's like a selfie.
That's rude. So then he has this really cool analogy, which is also in the book, which I loved, the mouse in the house. And he calls Joe the house, and then in Beck's therapy session, she's the mouse. And it's this whole story of, like, you know, how Joe wants to build this house of love and happiness, and he has everything that he wants, and Beck represents the mouse in that house, like, kind of fucking shit up. So it's showing that there's, like, when it comes to having another person inserted romantically in a relationship, how that can really fuck shit up and why that is. And he says, you know, she's like, I don't want to be a mouse. Like, what am I supposed to do in this freaking house? Am I supposed to just, like, chill or whatever? And he's like, well, what do you want to do in that situation? And then he says, like, you know, when you, he's like, how do people catch mice? And she's like, with a trap. And then he says, you know, when you're with Joe, what was he trying to do? And how did you feel when he was trying to do those things? And she was like, I felt trapped and I didn't want that. So it's kind of her coming to those conclusions with this really cool analogy. So I thought that was really interesting. So then it cuts to the moving party. And by moving party, I mean, like, they're just moving boxes.
Yeah.
And Beck shows up.
Beck's there for Blythe, and then Joe's there for Ethan. So of course, like they're talking to each other.
And so they get talking, and she's like flirt on. She's like booty tooching out. She's like looking like bent over
and just like talking to him. Like, oh my
I'm like,
God.
You're moving. You should be wearing like some like shitty clothes right now. She's like literally like ass out, like freaking makeup on. And then they have like a really cute moment after everything's moved in. Two, by the way, like probably one of the most expensive apartments in
their
all
apartment looked really nice.
It was huge. It was like a gigantic ass loft. I'm like, you guys, one is a bookstore owner, the other one I don't even know what she does.
Yeah.
And you guys can overhear this place monthly.
I think she's supposed to be rich, right? Like
Blythe? No, I don't. Anyway, whatever. Just I was very jealous of their loft. So anyway, they're chilling in the back of the van, and they have a really cute moment, like quote unquote like friend moment where he jokes with her and says, like, she's like, I'm happy for you, Karen seems nice or whatever, and like they kind of both admit that they're both stalking each other, like Facebook stalking each other. And it was cool. I think that it's something that everybody wants when they get out of a relationship, just like something fine with their exes.
But it wasn't fine. Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't fine because there were feelings there.
Like, some other shit happened.
Of course.
Like,
but I think
it wasn't a genuine place, I don't think.
No, for sure, because I think it was masked by like a lot of like internal desires and urges. But I think I wanted to ask everybody at this point, do you think you can be friends with your ex? Yeah, can you be friends with your exes?
I mean, I think it's possible, but I don't think we're supposed to look at Beck and Joe and decide if they're ever going to do that, because they're both fucking crazy. So
that's true. I guess it was just like a general question to our listeners, but anyway, moving on to back at like Joe's place, and Claudia's passed the fuck out on the couch, and she's like not tweaking, but like
she's coming down.
She's coming down, and she's like sweating. She's like starting to feel sick, and her blood pressure is really low. And Karen's just kind of taking care of her. The assumption is that both of them work.
They're both
same
nurses.
Hospital.
Yeah, they're both nurses.
And they're good friends. So she basically says, like, I don't want Paco to see this. Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
And so he decides to take them to the basement in the bookstore so she can detox. And as soon as he puts her in there, she kind of freaks out for a second, and then he freaks out for a second. So he starts to glitch out in the box when he starts saying, like, I'm not a killer. Like, he starts to see everything that happened with Benji. This is something that I don't think happens in the book that often, and it's something that we talked about in our last few podcasts, how they're really humanizing him in so many ways. And this is a moment where I feel like, you see him go through like a bit of a PTSD moment where he gets traumatized by what happened in there with Benji, and now he's back in there, and there's another body in there, and he's like kind of freaking out, and he's convincing himself that what he did was not what he normally would do.
Right.
Do you feel like, and I'm going to ask you this again, because like, we kind of didn't really have a conclusion to it. Do you think that that is something that we want from this character at this point in time? Episode 8, after what he's done to like
I'm
Benji
never going to like
Peach.
you because you're a killer. At the end of the day, you're still a killer.
Yeah.
So.
And like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if a psychopath could justify those things unless it's really underscoring the fact that they love each.
No, I think they could. I think they could justify it for sure.
But it's like fucked up.
But it doesn't make sense.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
Like, you should never have to kill anybody for anybody, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that he does use Beck as a reason to do all of the things that he does. I just think that it's not realistic for someone to think that they have to do something for someone else. Like, you made me do this because you had poisonous people around you, so I had to kill them all. Like, it just is like nobody thinks that way. So anyway, he has his moment, and then he goes to hang out with Paco, and Paco's like, where my mom at? And he's like, just she's coming, like, wait.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, Ron comes by the bookstore. So Ron is the ex boyfriend, like whatever, parole
I just didn't understand this whole like Colleen, whatever her name is,
Claudia
storyline. Like, why is she
a thing?
Why is she coming down off of drugs? Why is she in that room? Why is she in the basement? Like, why?
Yeah, I'm not sure what her role is in this, other than kind of connecting to Karen a little bit. I'm sure that Ron is gonna have a purpose.
Yeah, I just didn't understand the whole like overdosing part. Like, I didn't get why they had to go that far with her storyline.
Okay, the one thing that I will say is, and we can talk about it at the end of the episode too, but this episode has a lot to do with addiction. It has to do with kind of using addiction as a metaphor, and it all comes together at the very end of the episode. That was literally the only thing, and I was like, why you guys have to be so smart? Like, just like keep it what it is, because it's about a crazy person, and like we don't have to have the extra layer layer, but it seems that they're trying to add that theme of addiction. The fact that they end up back together at the end of the episode, it just kind of feeds into that kind of concept. So then it cuts to Beck, and she texts him while he's just like hanging out with Paco, and she asks if he can help her out like tomorrow, like to like pick his brain or whatever. She just needs like, you know,
she's like, I'm gonna go on the ferry, the Staten Island ferry. She's like, come with me, like. Yeah,
and I love this moment too because I feel like he fights with himself for a hot second. He's like, no, like I'm not gonna do it, but like, am I gonna do it?
He does that a lot this episode. Yeah, he does that a lot, but obviously in the end we know what.
And it's just, it's such an interesting thing because I feel like, I don't know, anybody who's been in a relationship and has had to struggle with like somebody coming back into your life while you're in something else, like it's very much that whole situation where you feel this push and pull and you don't know what is the right thing to do, and you know that you want to go into it with this mindset that things are going to be noble and we're just going to be friends, and things kind of just fall apart from there because you're just kidding yourself the entire time.
Right, and already she wasn't coming into it like that. She was like fully flirting with him. So like, it's not just a platonic relationship, obviously.
Exactly. And he keeps saying too, like, you know, he keeps reminding himself that he has a girlfriend. Karen's good to him. And, you know, she even texts saying like, Paco's going to stay at somebody else's house tonight because I want to take care of my man. Like, she's doing what she can as Karen.
For sure.
So it's a little heartbreaking on the other side of it to see that, you know, she's trying her best and he's like all the while like still infatuated by someone else. Feels like something missing. Yeah. So anyway, they the next day, cuts to the next day, and he's hanging out with her, and he's like, nothing's gonna happen, we're going to like one of the most like main tourist attractions of New York, and sure enough, like the one freaking time that they do it, like there's nobody on the damn boat.
Which is so unbelievable. Like, you're on the Staten Island ferry, like come on guys, like
never happens. So they are just like talking about stuff. They're talking about the writing and like all that kind of stuff.
I do have to say though, like that moment where it was actually a really beautiful moment, like when he sees her like on the deck of the boat basically, and she's kind of like, you know, like there's a skyline behind her hair. In that moment I realized, I was like, it's not the same. Like the way he sees Beck is so different from the way he sees Karen. Like it's never gonna be the same. He's never gonna see Karen like this. Like he's, you know, like I could just feel it. I'm like, which
is unfortunate, but it happens when you're not over the other person, right?
No, for sure. Yeah. But also like we know how this is all gonna end too. So like,
it's all like very
he couldn't get away from her, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So then it cuts to so anyway, they're talking on there, and she like shares her pages, and he's like, they're fantastic, whatever. And then they just keep talking, and then she's like, I should write like a men's version, because I guess this is like from the female perspective. So it's like she's writing her own you book. And he's like, you can like, I can help you out with it or whatever. And then she's like, let's practice. Like, what are you thinking right now? Or he's like, what do you think I'm thinking? She's like, I think you're thinking that what I'm thinking.
What you know. And then I know and I want this. And so you know that. Yeah. And so we're going to do this right now.
So then they just like get closer, and he's like, don't get closer. And then he's like, blah, 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 blah. Like they start making out, and then they fuck. Yeah. Like they literally
like fully on the fucking boat. Yeah. Like
her hat flies off, like her freaking beater hat. And then like just like. It's just like, it's a mess. Yeah, and then so she she gets off of him, and you're like, and then
he's like remembering all the other scenes after, and then
that happens after, and then
he's like, it was funny because he's like, we can't do this, we're not gonna do this, and it cuts to like another scene of him just like against the window,
and she's like, and I knew it. I was like, she's like sucking and then he's like eating her out, like it's just like this back and forth. It's just like a lot, so many things. They're like literally fucking everywhere. Like they're fucking more than they did like when they were actually dating. Which is, I think, very common too, right? Like people say like when you're sneaking around, it's like hotter, and like they do crazy
and there's like
things.
The makeup. They're like making up essentially,
like low key. But they're just like screwing all the while. Like he's still with Karen. And so anyway, it cuts to one moment where they're like back at Beck's place, and they're like super happy, and they're just like having sex, and then he realizes that he forgot that Paco is like hanging out at the house. So he runs back to Paco, and he's like, sorry, Paco. And Paco's like, I want to see
he's my mom.
And I love that. Okay, one of the things that I wanted to say really quickly is I love that he shortens Paco to Pac, like as if like Paco needed to be any shorter than it already is.
Come on, Pac.
He's like, sorry, Pac, let's go to watch a movie. And so anyway, he's like, you can't see your mom right now. She's sick. She's not feeling well. And then Paco like claps back real hard and he's like, you have no idea what's better. She's my mom.
Yeah,
like, meh.
I don't know.
And I'm like, can someone slap this child? Like he needs.
So basically he takes Paco to the like bunker.
So he decides that he like it's best interest for him to see his mom who's coming off of drugs. Yeah, exactly. Cool. So then I guess like, Karen got even cheese. She was like, what the hell are you doing? Why did you bring him here? And then you kind of realize that like Joe is kind of right in this instinct because I guess like he's had this moment in his own life, and so they kind of reconvene and see each other, and she's so happy, and he's like apologizing. Paco's like, it's okay, don't worry, whatever. They have a cute moment. Karen is like even more in love with Joe at this point, and Joe's just like, I don't even care. He's like out of it. He doesn't even give a shit. And Karen's like, okay, we'll just wrap this shit up and then we can go to your friend's party. And he's like, actually, like, don't bother, because I guess he knows that Becca's gonna be there. And she's like, no. Like, and I love that like Karen kind of put this in because like you can tell that she did it because she don't want people to stepping on her man. Yeah. So they go to the housewarming party, and it starts off with this really funny moment with Blythe and Joe talking. And Blythe is like talking about like Beyonce's Lemonade. Like it's just like a very funny moment. And then Karen comes by and she's like, oh, hey, you must be Blythe. And Blythe is like, unfortunately, that's my name. Like, she's just so like, she's like that funny girl.
She's a funny character.
And anyway, so she starts to talk to like other people, and then Beck comes in, and she's holding a bottle of alcohol. She's already like half drunk. She's
definitely lit.
And even like Joe says like, oh great, like Beck with alcohol, like this is gonna be good. And so they meet, like Karen and Beck see each other, and Joe obviously, but then Joe gets pulled away by Ethan to open up some bottles, and so freaking like Karen and Beck have to like sit and talk to each other, and like that's like literally everyone's worst freaking nightmare is watching like your ex and your current just like talking to each other. So he's like looking and he's like, what are they saying to each other? And you find out that like Karen is basically glowing the shit out of Joe, saying like he's the kindest person in the world. He does anything for someone that he loves. And then Beck starts to get very
like jealous
and sad. And then Joe comes to find her later, and she's downstairs and she's just chilling. And she's really upset about it. I'm surprised that she like mopes. Like Beck is such an annoying moper. Like go home if you're gonna be upset. Just go home. Why are you still at the party? You don't have to stay there. You want people to come find you. You want Joe to come find you to talk to you. She's so annoying. So then anyway, he sits down beside her and he's like, what's wrong? And she's like, honestly, Karen's good for you. I don't want to fuck that up. I was jealous when I saw you guys together for sure, and I just like, I just need to move on. But clearly like
she's good for you.
Yeah, she's like, I was fucked up when I was with you. Like I like wasn't nice enough to you. I was dragging you into like crazy shit. Like I wasn't there for, I wasn't letting you in when after Peach died. Like it was my fault. And then she says like, you deserve to be happy. Like I'm gonna let you go. Like, and then he walks away. Or she walks away. And then it cuts to Claudia and that whole situation. Like she's like detox free and whatever. And she like leaves. Like they go upstairs. They're good. And then like quickly, like at all these moments, Joe's starting to realize he's like, I don't love Karen. Like I need to. Yeah. After the conversation, essentially, Joe's like, what you're saying means like I need to break up with Karen. Yeah. Right? What did you think of that realization? The fact that he like kind of came to the conclusion.
We knew he was gonna get there,
right?
So at least he got there quickly, and doesn't kind of drag Karen through the mud. But
it's true,
because I think in the book it does drag on a bit more than that.
For sure. So anyway, he basically gets home and he's like, Karen, we're done. Like, I'm breaking up with you.
He's like, this is over. She's like, what's over?
The fuck? And she does say, she's like, I kind of booked it. And she doesn't go crazy. I think that's the best thing about this. I was like, this girl took the high road and she like went high.
I noticed it. I realized it. It's cool. Fine.
Yeah. Whatever. And the entire time he's like preparing to be slapped by her. Like, he's like, oh, she's going to go wild out on me. And she's fine. She's like, I think I'm good. She's like, bye. Yeah. She like takes her like the best curling iron. She dips. Yeah. And of course, like in perfect Joe / man fashion, he like freaking does the over romanticized like run to Beck's place. Yeah. And slow motion. Raining. No, he's like waiting. He wanted it to be raining. But yeah, he runs to her place and he like yells through the window. He's like, I love you. You got me. Like whatever. And he tries to throw a pebble through her window, but instead like it breaks the entire window.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of foreshadowing, because like it's like him trying to be romantic, but it turns into this dangerous,
like shatters,
broken glass everywhere. So I thought that was very like foreshadowing, but also those glasses are very thin.
Yeah,
like a pebble would not break through that glass. So anyway, so she sees him and she's happy. They get together, they fuck, whatever, it's fine. And so after that whole night, he goes home and he sees Ron like knocking on the door, like in Claudia's room, and Claudia takes him back, basically. Of
course.
And Ron even says like, thank you so much for helping her get better. Like, I heard that you like helped her get better. And I didn't know what that meant. Like, was he threatening him low key?
I don't know.
Was he saying like, I see you, like you knew where she was and like you didn't tell me that whole time? Or are you saying like, thanks for helping her get better, because I've been trying to get her better this whole time too?
I couldn't tell either.
Because like Ron is a douchebag, right?
Yeah.
Like he is a douche. Yeah. I was kind of confused by the whole situation, because the music wasn't like leading me anywhere too. It wasn't like ominous, like thanks buddy, I'm gonna.
And he didn't say it like that either. He was like genuinely like thank you. Like you
so I was
her.
very confused by that. But anyway, so she goes and she takes him back and she's like, you know, Karen's gone, I need the support. And Joe's like, you got people, like what's your problem? Like why are you taking him back? He's a piece of shit. And so anyway, she like leaves and he says it again. This is what I was telling you earlier. He says, you know, addiction is a disease and you can't get rid of it that easily, and people go back to it. And like I said, addiction is a monster. And I think that's it flashes back to that whole idea that, you know, Beck and Joe are sick and they are obsessed with each other in so many other ways, him more than her obviously. But I think that there is definitely that very creepy dynamic between the two of them that make them connected to each other. So then we see like the door closes and then Paco's freaking like coming down the stairs like, I hate you fucked everything up. Like he's like, everything's even worse. Karen is gone, it's all your fault. Like he's like, you tried to fix things and like you just make them even worse. I was like, yo, this kid is like going in. Like what is wrong with you, bro? He needs to die. So anyway, that's Paco again for the 15th time being a douchebag. And then it shows Karen and she's in Beck's neighborhood, because Beck's like texting her new man or like her old new man, and she's like super happy. And then
she was on the phone with someone.
She was on the phone with him. She was like, love you boy, see you later, miss ya. And then Karen's like she's like, yo, just letting you know that you're like thank you so much, because
like now I see exactly who this guy is.
He's a liar,
I'm done,
cheater,
like, so whatever.
And then she says something about Candace. She says, you'll never live up to Candace, so good luck with that, because clearly I couldn't live up to Candace, so you're not going to live up to Candace either. It's very interesting that you brought up Candace and not like Beck.
Exactly. And she even says like, whatever happened to Candace, I hope it doesn't happen to you or something.
Yeah. She's like, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Basically all that. So she's already planning a little seed into Beck's head to make her think some type of way about something. And then the episode ends.
My question was to Karen was like, what made you think that? Because everything's happening so fast, so like nothing specifically happened where like Karen would be like, wait, Candace, why is he saying Candace? Like nothing really happened. She's just intuitively like, I guess, just sketched out by all of that,
right?
So I wish they kind of focus on that a little bit more, so that we can be like, true, like her eye was on Candace.
Or maybe after they broke up, she realizes how obsessive he can get about somebody.
But it never really got there, so I didn't know how she knew that.
And I guess at the same time, she's a smart girl. She's very intuitive. She's very aware of things. And I think that just like watching him watch her, like watching Joe with Beck, and then knowing the story of Candace, maybe as an outsider, you can kind of put things
for sure
together.
She did, of course. And that's why I love her character so much, is that like, you know, this is the discussion this whole time. Someone like Joe would not be with someone like Karen. Because someone like Karen would not be with Joe. Exactly. Someone like Karen would book all his shit, would think it's weird, right? You know, would see through his everything. And so someone like Karen walked away. Yeah. And she walks away untouched, and she's happy. So I was really happy with her storyline.
But yeah, I like the little final clap back to Beck to like warn her, but like also be like, I don't got your back, girl, but also just be aware. Be careful.
Because, but like, I'm getting out of this situation.
Because
in the book, it gets pretty crazy, because like in the book, I don't think she handles the breakup like that smoothly. Like I think she freaks out a bit.
I think she might have just.
Her brother comes into town. Her brother beats up Joe. So like all of this kind of becomes bigger than it is in the show.
At all. Jeez.
So yeah. So I'm happy that they kind of just like did like a quick version of it, and we still understood like Karen's strong enough. She walked away. Right. She's done now. Cool.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's get into our recap roundups.
Recap roundups.
Best moment.
So my best moment was the therapy session, the whole mouse in the house analogy, because I think I really liked it in the book, and just hearing that again, I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to having urges or having desires from, you know, an ex or whatever. And I think it was an interesting way they cut it too, between the two of them kind of having the same issue, and the fact that, you know, Dr. Nikki's not even booking the fact that like they're talking about each other.
Yeah.
I like the way that they shot it. It was really well done. That was my best moment. How about you?
My best moment was, I think just Karen's whole story arc. I love that they had included her in the original book.
Yeah.
I love what they did with her in the show. You know, and I think it's so important to see a strong female character in this story.
Absolutely.
Peach was definitely a strong female character, but she was freaking crazy too. So it's amazing to see her so level-headed, so caring, normal, so supportive, so normal. And she kind of comes into the story and she kind of gets out. So it was just, I loved her story. And that you're right, like that she still does go to Beck and she's like, girl, watch out, I'm not gonna be here, but just watch out, because she didn't have to do that either. Like, she could have just like dipped, you know. So like for her to even go warn Beck was like a really big thing for her to do.
She's like
big ups to Karen.
Y'all crazy, bye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What was your WTF moment?
WTF moment. My WTF moment, I don't know, it was hard. I was shocked that they had sex on the ferry, for sure.
Yeah, that was mine.
But I think also, you can talk about that more, but for me also Paco getting mad at the end, I was like,
yeah,
first of all, you're not even in my story, you're not in the book, what are you doing here? Why are you getting mad at Joe? He's literally like giving you so much food, like why are you getting mad at him? Like, you're so extra.
He's very irrational, but like I guess that's what a kid does.
Like, I was just shocked at why he's an
irrational young kid, which I guess I'm trying to understand too, but at the same time, yeah, you know how I feel about Paco. Paco's my LVP for life, but like, yeah, this episode for sure, it just seems like he's unnecessary, and why are you here? Yeah. So like him like going crazy at the very end of the episode, I'm like, that's not a cliffhanger. Like, what's that kind of thing that we're getting from this?
Yeah.
Who's your MVP? Or mine? My WCF, like I said, was the sex on the boat.
On the ferry.
Like, why is that happening?
Yeah.
That would never happen. It's so extra. They like have sex like so
literally
fast.
Every review I read was like, you would never have a boat empty like that.
Like never, ever.
MVP. My MVP is Karen, for obvious reasons.
Karen Minty.
Karen Minty for the win.
For the win.
Like, thank you for showing that women can be normal.
Yes.
And not crazy.
And strong.
And like the way she just broke up with him, or like the way she accepted the breakup was amazing.
I agree.
Yeah.
She's also my MVP, so I'm not gonna. Yeah. Big ups to her.
LVP.
LVP is gonna go to Joe and Beck together, because I think they're effing losers. They're obsessive. They are meant to each other. And they're like, I don't know, the worst of the worst. Like, I don't know. She annoyed me more, definitely. Beck always annoys me more. But I
will say that like they kind of humanize her a little bit more, that she fesses up to her issues of this episode. But even her being flirtatious, ain't nobody okay with that storyline, though. And the fact that she swipes the man back, like, it's tight. She can't even let her be happy. Like, she can't even let Karen be happy. You know what I mean? It's tight.
It's a very evil feeling that you have inside, that you would look at your ex or whoever, even this girl who's happy now with your ex, and be like, I'm gonna fuck that shit up. Like, it's a very evilness inside of you. I don't think
that they do it on purpose. I think it's just,
but
like,
they do.
It's realizing it and being more selfish. It's a very selfish thing.
Yeah, but it's still done on purpose. Like, you're doing it because you want your insecurities to feel better, and you want your happiness to come first, and you know, you want to know that he still likes you. Right. Like, it's very purposeful and selfish.
For sure.
I hate that.
And yeah, I guess we've said it from the beginning of the episode, but like, this is the reason why we don't like Beck.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, I think my LVPs are also Joe and Beck.
Yeah.
I think more Joe, just because I think that he never gave Karen a chance, and I think that he was trying to trick himself into thinking that it was going to be okay.
I mean,
but
it's a good thing that he didn't.
If it wasn't going to work out, then you should have just like not moved ahead. You know, there's other coping mechanisms to break up with people, and I don't think it's getting into another relationship right away. You know, and I think it's unfair to kind of string somebody along like that.
Yeah, you're also expecting a sociopath to like know all these social like cues.
That's true. That's fair. True.
Guys, the best line. My best line was, I think, at the beginning when Joe was going through all of these things, and he's like, "How the hell am I supposed to be great with you being gone if you're actually gone?"
Yeah.
And it was such a fucked up line because it was like,
because he's like,
what do you
now,
mean? Like, she's gone. And he's like, but how am I supposed to get over you? Like, now you're really gone.
Like, what am I going to do now?
He sounds crazy.
He's freaking insane.
Yeah.
My best line is from him as well when he's about to text her back and he says, no, I shouldn't. I won't. It's a date. Shit. It's fine. You're not heroin. You're a human woman. We're friends. I have self-control. And besides, what could happen on the top of an immensely popular tourist destination?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
Right, guys. So that's the episode, guys. Let us know what you guys thought about the episode. Make sure you guys comment below. And that's it. We're 2 episodes away from the end.
That's it.
I'm just going to tell you guys right now, Ish is going to go down.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys watch it and then stay tuned to listen to hear what we have to say about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.
Bye.